All right, everybody, welcome to this week's live edition of the Leadership Blend with the host for Carl D. Rice and to the interns.
Chamyre.
Charnaye, how you guys doing?
All right, so today we're just going to be talking about introverts, and I'm probably going to go over some grant writing stuff because I keep promising I'm going to do it, and I have yet to do it. So that's what we're going to do today. So we're going to be talking about a little grant writing, little introverts, little extroverts. You know, how do you network if you're a shy person? You know, what do you do? Things of that magnitude. So everybody just hang on. Hey, go on your Facebook Live. Yep. Mm-hmm. You know I'm gonna do that. Mm-hmm. All right, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, sometimes some places good evening. Welcome to another edition of the Leadership Blend with your host, Ricardo D. Rice. It is I don't even know how to describe today. Today is just, it's cold, it's windy, it's slightly rainy, but you know what? It's still Monday. So you don't really have a choice but to get your week started. So today I have two of the interns in the studio, and I don't know if anybody's picked up on it, but I love torturing them. So it's just fun. It's fun, and they got to learn anyway. So y'all say hello to everybody and say who you are.
Hey guys, my name is Grier.
Hey guys, this is Charnaye. I missed y'all. It's been about 2 weeks, but I'm back.
Yeah, okay, so here's the thing. Chamyre, I knew was supposed to be here. So I'm sitting in the studio, and the door opens. I'm thinking it's Chamyre, and it's Charnaye. Now, I did not know Charnaye was coming. She didn't tell me she was coming.
I just do pop-ups. That's how I do.
Yeah, so she's got her gangster on now, so now she feels like she can just show up in the studio whenever she's good and ready. It's fine, because she's on the spot today, so it's fine, and so they got to figure it out today, so it's all good. It's what it is. So today we're going to talk about a little bit of everything. Normally I'm very structured and organized. Today we're going to talk about a little bit of everything because there is a lot going on. So I tasked Chamyre with talking about introverts because over the weekends, I meet people, I talk, I do things, and so on and so forth. And I'm learning that a lot of business owners, in essence, are shy. You know, they don't really want to go to networking events. They don't really want to talk to people. They don't want to, it's just not who they are, which is fine. And for most people that have been watching my show or listening to my show since I started, you know that one of my very good friends, Eric, who has YBE Magazine, Young Black Experience, he's an introvert. So when he was here, we had the conversation, he was just like, well, I don't, and we talk about this all the time. He's like, I just don't really want to get out there. It's just not who I am, but I want to grow my business. So, you run into this dead run as to what do I do? And the reality is some of us who are actually extroverts like myself, but I would say I'm an extrovert with introvert tendencies. Because despite what it looks like, if I'm not in the studio or at work, I'm typically home. And I enjoy being home. So my friends laugh because, when I'm home, I'm sitting around the robe and I'm typically working on some projects, but I'm home. Like, I'm in it. I'm in it to win it. I'm watching TV. Lately, my passion has been Trolls, the little cartoon they turned into, or the cartoon movie they turned into a cartoon. Yeah, I'm not ashamed of it. I say it. Lately, I've been into Trolls. So when I'm home, I'm watching. Last night, I was watching Trolls, and Poppy and them were dancing all over the screen. and I was loving it, and I was working, and but I digress. The point is, when you're an introvert and you're in business, you still have to find some common ground by which to expand your business. So today, Chamyre has been tasked with that because out of my 4 interns, she has to be the most timid. So, but I'm glad to think you're the youngest.
I'm 23. I'm about to be 24 next
I'm the
month.
youngest,
How old are you?
22,
Wait, when's your birthday?
March 31st.
Oh, it's coming up.
Thank you.
Yes.
Aries season.
Yes.
We're not doing that. It's all.
Call it if you're an
It's
Aries.
always
No.
Scorpio season. So I don't. It's always Scorpio season. So yeah, that's out of all the interns, I would have to say Chamyre is more the introvert than Charnaye is too, but she's gotten better at it. Hynson is not an introvert, and neither is Ashton. So it's really Chamyre who is the introvert. So how much did you do your homework?
Yes.
All right. So tell us what an introvert is.
An introvert is basically someone who doesn't prefer to be around like big crowds. They prefer to be like to themselves and do things alone. They like solitude, and yeah, they're not really good at social encounters either. They're just very, I guess, people that love to be by themselves.
Okay, that's a good definition of introvert. All right, so let's use you as an example. So when we had the Married and Business Association meeting that week,
Mm-hmm.
how was that for you? All right, let me say this. All right, so most people that listen know that I'm really good friends with a lot of the people from the Married and Business Association. They meet every Thursday at Andre's at 3 o'clock. And in these meetings, they're all either small business owners or they work for insurance companies. It's a mixture of all types of business people. So for one of their projects, the interns had to go with me to that meeting, and they had to mix and mingle and do that kind of stuff because that's a part of growing your business. You have to attend these kind of functions, whether you like them or not, and you want to get out, you want to talk to people, you want to meet people. Now, granted, there are more than one ways to expand your business. I'm not saying that they all are, you have to get out there, you have to meet people, but if you're trying to do something big, that is your best bet. Because yeah, email is nice, and so LinkedIn message is nice, but being in nothing will ever replace being in someone's face, and that's the harsh reality. And that's the foundation for expanding your business. Nothing is better than being in someone's face. Why? Because it's hard for you to tell me no when you're looking at me. Now you can ignore email, you can say you never got an email, you can ignore my LinkedIn message, but if I show up at your door, you're gonna have to tell me no in my face.
Mm-hmm.
So it gives you more standing,
Leeway.
more leeway when you're looking at someone's face and you're trying to pitch them something, and they're in class, especially if you have a cute face, use the puppy dog face. It's a little harder to say, well, no, I don't really want to do that, blah blah blah. So in any event, they had to follow me to the Married and Business Association. So what was that experience like for you because you are an introvert?
Well, whenever I have to put myself in big crowds anyway, I kind of get anxiety. So, I do. But, I don't show it. I try to, keep myself under control before I, get in there. But, my experience was, I just had to, go out there and shake hands because I kind of wanted to network with people.
And you didn't have a choice. That was just
Yeah.
that way. So you didn't really, I didn't leave you a choice.
So,
to do it.
I had to do it. But, it was very uncomfortable a little bit because I didn't know the people and they were, older than me. I feel like if they were my age, I'd probably be a little bit more, less shy and timid. But, I just think it was uncomfortable, but I got through it, so, yeah.
So what was your mindset going into the meeting? Because they were told, I can't remember, 2 weeks? Y'all were told, 2 weeks in advance that y'all were going to have to do this at some point. But I'm good for surprises. So I was like, okay, well, this is the week that y'all are going in with me. So, what was the mindset going into it? And like I said, once again, you're filling in for the everyday person who's trying to build a business because, in essence, you're building a brand. So, in essence, you're the example today. You both are actually.
Mm-hmm.
But, so what was your mindset going into it, knowing you had to get a job done?
My mindset going into it, I just had to give myself a pep talk. If you really want this, you just have to put your fears aside and just go for it. You can't be, all shy. If you're shy and timid, you'll get left out. A closed mouth doesn't get fed. That's what I like to know. So, I just had to keep that in mind and just push for it. Even if I'm scared, just know that once I got everything done, I would feel better afterwards. Instead of like not getting anything done and then having that feeling of like regret, like man, I should have done that.
So did you have that after we were done? Did you feel like, oh,
yeah, I felt like a relief, like okay, I got the job done, like it wasn't that bad after all. So
Yeah, like for someone like me who's not necessarily that introverted, it definitely was still nerve-wracking because you don't know who you're gonna meet in these meetings. So that's the thing as far as like just a natural going into it's very intimate with people who already have their businesses set up, and you don't have as far as like your resume as big because you're just trying to get out there. So going up to them and telling them what you're all about can be very intimidating because sometimes they might like body language in a sense of body language write you off. So you gotta figure out how to withstand that and how to go to the next person and keep talking. So
all right, so in terms of body language, like what did y'all observe while we were there? Like what did you learn?
well, I was talking to one guy, and I was just, I introduced myself, and he introduced himself to me, and he asked me what I wanted to do, and I said film and stuff like that. And he was an older guy, so like I don't think he was interested in like film and stuff. So after I told him, he kind of like turned around, like looked out of the way, and like
Seriously?
yeah. So I just like walked away. Like I didn't know what to do in that situation. Like sometimes I don't know what to do in situations like that. Like if someone's not interested in the same thing you are, like what are you supposed to do?
they gave, I know one time they stopped giving eye contact when I was giving it. So that was a sense of like, I'm kind of done with this conversation. And I hate to say it, but like, look for those people who you think or you can tell would be able to help you because, in a sense, when they recognized that I couldn't do anything for them, I guess in a way of what they felt would work with their business or why they were there, it immediately like turned them off when they were on to the next person. Because at the end of the day, time is money, so I can't be mad at them for it. It's just, I guess that's just how business is.
Well, and again, today we're going to talk about introverts and extroverts. So for introverted people, you always want to make sure that you pick an event that is conducive for what you're trying to do. Now, I made you guys go because I wanted to see how y'all would do the first time y'all go out. And I have another surprise for y'all because y'all not done with that because y'all have to do it again. But, to show what you've learned and things of that magnitude so that when you get into the room this time, you're like, okay, this is the game plan. Versus the first time, it was kind of like, okay, well, we here, so let's kind of do it. But that's equally important, especially for introverts, because, you want to make every opportunity count. Now, and I had to learn this lesson the hard way, when you go into certain rooms, especially if it's a room you're not familiar with, because sometimes you just can't do research. Now, I'm a big advocator for doing your research and knowing what you're walking into, but sometimes it just does not happen. Case in point today, there was a whole other plan for today's show. But, I knew you were coming, you showed up, so it's okay, well, that plan is probably not going to happen. So now we need to go at plan B. And y'all can be like, what is plan B? I'm like, I don't know, we're going to do it. And here we are. So, it's always nice to have a backup plan, but do you think that personality makes a difference? Like, if y'all were, a lot more extroverted and had a bigger personality, do you think that would have made a difference?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah and no. Like, although I'm an introvert, like, I still try to, like, get in touch with other people's personalities. Like, if someone says something interesting, I'm going to chime in because I find it interesting as well. As long as the topic, like, excites me, then, I have no problem speaking up. So.
Yeah, but every topic is not going to excite you, so
I know.
that's the part you have to...
That's what I'm saying. Like, I guess in that sense, only when it excites me, then yeah. But other than that, I may find it a little hard. But I still might try to chime in, like, just to, like, participate and not seem like, like
I think people kind of, like, respect people who are extroverts more, just because I guess it's like, how when they say, the way you would like to see it, like, people say, oh, I'd rather see it in front of me, see it in my face, versus, like, hear something behind my back sort of thing. So like, I think you can kind of have a bigger trust level with people who are extroverted, who are fully themselves in front of you, and you know what you're going to get.
Mm-hmm.
With introverts, you can't be sure that this is what you're going to get every time, which is bad which is I feel like it's not right, honestly. Like,
what do you mean it's not right?
It's not
what do you mean it's not right? Like,
it's not right for business owners just have to take that as an automatic no, I think.
Yeah.
Because that happens a lot.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we gonna put a pin in this because we
Not
gonna
right.
unpack that when we get back. So stick around the leadership plan with your host, Ricardo D. Rice.
So I'm
It's
gonna-
not right.
I don't like it.
What do you mean you don't like it?
I don't like when people say, "Oh, just because you," that's what's going on with my boss right now. Like, my job does not even require really being in front of like customers. But if a client come in and I say, "Hey, how you doing, blah blah," people are like, "I need you to smile more. I need you to smile more." I'm like,
What are you doing?
I'm working at a creative agency.
What's that?
We're doing social media management, doing copywriting.
Copywriting? Really? Is it easy?
No.
It's not.
Anything that influences that things the government is not easy.
Copywriting, and he's teaching me to be a PA, like on shoots and videos for clients. So it's cool, but it's money to be fun.
What are your hours?
10 to 5, but you don't get home till 7. Because I be sitting in traffic.
It's a job or internship?
A job / internship. Like, he has it where I'm working 40 hours, but 20 hours is work. I get paid 20 hours. But it ends in 3 months, and we're not on air right.
No.
I think he's trying to get me to be there full time. Like, I mean, afterwards, but I don't want to because A, you don't have a budget, and C, personality wise, we don't mesh all the way.
Well, technically, y'all guys' internship was supposed to be 15 weeks, which would end in May, the 1st of May. Actually, in the week going into the book signing. But we're gonna see, because I actually sat down and did the whole remainder of the lesson plans for the remaining week. Since 2 of y'all are here, I'll give it to y'all today.
You said going into what, man?
Yeah, the 1st of May. All right, everybody, we are back on this week's edition of the Leadership Blend with your host, Ricardo D. Rice. And when we left, okay, so today we're talking about introverts and extroverts. And somebody may be saying, well, why do I care? Why is that important? Because the difference in the personalities can make the difference of how you build your business. So if you're an extrovert, there are certain channels that you probably will be more inclined to take because those channels are more conducive for your personality style. If you're an introvert, there are other avenues you may want to take because they also cater to your personality style. So when we left to go on the break, one of the interns was saying it's not fair, which I'm not done with. So you have to unpack that. So what does that mean? Okay, before she does that, all right, for those that just tuned in, Chamyre and Charnaye are here. And actually it's funny because these are 2 of my introverts out of the 4 interns versus Hynson and Ashton. Because Hynson and Ashton are extroverts, especially Ashton.
When I get comfortable, I can be an extrovert. But at first.
Okay, well you're an introvert with extrovert tendencies. Which
yeah,
is not,
I'm like you.
No, when I said it, you would be like, that ain't true. You can be,
Well,
I feel like.
be an introvert, that's why.
Yes, I can be an introvert. Like, it's not, okay, so I say I'm an extrovert with introvert tendencies because when.
So you're in between, you're an ambivert.
Just for the record, that is not a term.
Yes,
So
it is.
that is not, so you look, that's a term?
Yes, it is. Look it up. It's in between. There's introvert, ambivert, and extrovert. It's really a thing. It's in between. Like you're half
What's
half.
it called?
Ambivert.
Yeah.
I think I'm saying it right.
Charnaye is the researcher, so she has her laptop. So we gonna look this up
It's
because
gonna
I don't.
come up.
You better hope so, because if not,
It's
you're
gonna
fired.
come up.
You better hope so, if not, you're
Ambivert?
fired.
Yes. Did it come out?
You're
Oh, yeah,
fired.
yeah.
I
So,
told
all right, so read it. What is it?
A person whose personality has a balance of extrovert and
See?
introvert features. So we are
See?
both ambiverts. I like that.
What is it again?
Ambivert. See?
Spell it.
A-M-B-I vert.
Oh, okay.
So it's
That's
a
one of them new
thing.
terms. It's one of them new
So that's
terms.
what we are. I'm cool with that.
All right, okay, well,
Talk
I
about that
say, God, an ambivert. Okay, I would say that because when the cameras and the lights are going, I can get into it.
Mm-hmm.
But if there's no cameras and no lights, I'm behind the scenes, which, and again, this is where it comes into business. So you guys know that a part of what I do with this show is attracting advertisers and sponsors. What I'm finding is because when it comes to talking about me, I get really introverted. it's hard for me. It's
Yeah.
been a struggle because I'm not accustomed to talking to people about me. I'm used to being behind somebody else and go, oh, well, they're great. This is what they do. And even with y'all, I make y'all come and do the show. And if y'all are with me, I push y'all because it's easier to not push me.
Yeah.
So that's where the introvert tendencies of myself come into. And again, this is why I actually like today's show, because it's a lesson I'm learning. Because when the lights are going, I'm great. When the lights are not going, I'm not so great. Because I'm just not accustomed to always being in the spotlight. And I'm always ready. But I'm not always accustomed to being in the spotlight. So how are you the opposite? So what does that mean?
So I'm the opposite, as in like if I'm just by myself, like, or hanging out with some friends or cooling it, I'm usually like the entertaining one out of the bunch, right?
Really?
And you probably wouldn't know, but like the other interns, when we talk and stuff, I'm always the one like just to say something funny or just
Really?
get stuff, just get stuff going. But when I'm like, and then it's like, okay, 1, 2, 3, you're on air, I freeze up or something nervous. I feel like I'm going to say something stupid, and then sometimes I'll stutter, and that's just the sense of nervousness of knowing what I want to say or trying to think at the same time as when I'm trying to talk.
So, like, are you afraid of being put on the spot?
I'm not really afraid of being on the spot if I'm good with the topic, but if it's completely on the spot, I don't know what's coming, and you just say, hey, talk about this.
So the stuff
I'm
I do.
lost. Yeah, I'm
So
lost.
the stuff I do to y'all.
So I mean, it's good prep for sure, but I have a tendency to like shut down sometimes, so I have to work on that as far as being amped for the next surprise versus being like, I don't think I can do it, so it's not gonna work.
Which is and it's a defense factor because this is exactly what she did today. I was like, okay, so you're gonna help? No, I'm not ready. You think I'm giving you a choice? That's not how this works. All right. So in matters of business, how do you get around this? Because it's not gonna always be a situation where you're allowed or given the opportunity. Now, granted, because of cell phones, there really is no excuse to not be prepared because you can Google anything. So it's a matter of knowing to Google. Because I will say this: if I'm in some place and I do one of two things. If I'm in a room with people and I don't know exactly what's going on, I don't say anything, I observe. The problem with being an extrovert is it becomes a part of your personality. So when you walk in a room, it's like when I walk in a room, people want to automatically know, okay, who is that? Why here? Which is prone for anybody, but especially when you're an extrovert, because your immediate thing is, okay, well, I got to be on. So as you step into a room, you're just like, okay, well, I got to be ready. So even when I took y'all to the meeting, even though I'm accustomed to being with them, I never know who's going to be there. So it's a matter of I always have to be on, especially because you guys want to be radio personalities. You have to always be on and be ready at a moment's notice. Like I said today, this was not supposed to be the show. The show was supposed to be something else. But because that didn't happen, it's like, okay, well, I phoned it in last week. So you're not phoning it in, and plus I'm already here. So it's like, okay, well, you're already here, so what are you going to do? Now, granted, you keep stuff around you, so, and this goes for business as well. So when I say this, I'm talking about from a business aspect also. Of course, you want to have a couple of things. And I talk about this all the time. Elevator pitch. So if you have a business or organization, you want to have something ready so that when people ask you, what is your business? What do you do? Your elevator pitch, and most people know I preach this all the time, typically that's your mission statement. So if you have a business, and I'll say a nonprofit or whatever, somebody says, what do you do? Because y'all know when we went to the meeting, that was the first thing everybody's going to ask you. Right. What do you do? So you have to be able to say something, and you can't ramble and go, well, I do a little, the worst thing in the world, the worst thing in the world is I ask you what you do, and you rattle off 6 things. That is my biggest pet peeve. Do not tell me you're a model, a rapper, a server, you sell CDs out your trunk. Pick something. Because once you're done with all 7 of those titles, you're going to get the eye rolls. You're going to get people kind of turning another way because what it comes off as is you don't really know what you do. Exactly. You don't really know what you do. Now, if you say, hey, I'm a model, there are certain expectations that go with certain arenas. Yeah, certain pitches. So if you say I'm a model, then the first thing I'm expecting you to do is to pull out some kind of portfolio, whether that be digital or whether that be print. That's my expectation because that's your business. Your business is visual. If you say, hey, I am a music producer, then I'm expecting you to pull out your cell phone because, you can do that now. Pull out your cell phone and let me hear a beat. Like there are certain expectations that go with certain arenas. So in your business, you have to think about these things, even if you're an introvert. So if you say, hey, and I'll use Eric as an example, hey, I'm a magazine owner, then I'm expecting you to be able to say, well, hey, you know, your phone is already ready. Yeah, your phone is already ready, or you're able to rattle off some titles because that's your business. So when I tell people I'm a radio show host, the first thing I know people are going to ask me where, when, why, what.
How can I listen to you?
Exactly, you know, and immediately, and that was why I had to adjust it accordingly. So for introverts, I think the difference between an extrovert and an introvert when it comes to matters of business is an extrovert, we're so used to talking our business. For an introvert, if you know you don't really like to talk, then you have to be able to talk just enough to lead them somewhere. So it's like, okay, well, you know, I own a magazine. Where, and I always think about the 5 W's. Where, when, why, who, what. That's always the best thing to do. Have the 5 W's in your head for an introvert. Be able to at least talk yourself enough to direct them somewhere. Okay, well, hey, you know, I own a magazine. Next thing you're going to say is, what kind of magazine? Oh, okay, well, do you have your cell phone on you? Check out my website really quickly. Or you have your cell phone on you. And, you know, walk them through your website really quickly. Well, this is some of the editorials we have. You know, this is some of the spreads and some of the covers. There's always a way to get around it. All right, so, Chamyre, tell us more about introverts.
I was actually going to ask a question.
You always have a question. All right, what's the question?
I was going to say, why do people see introverts as rude?
You think that's how they perceive it?
Yes. Like, Charnaye, like, have you ever had someone tell you, like, have you ever been quiet, like, around a group of people, and they're like, why is she so stuck up, or why is she so rude?
Well, like I said, like, in my regular day life, I'm not introverted at all. I'm usually the life of the party, so to speak.
You have to record this, because I got to see it. I've never seen you have to record this. I've never.
You can see, just come to one of my functions, come with my friends, we hang out, we drink. Anyway.
First of all,
anyway.
First of all, we're not counting liquid courage. Liquid courage makes all kinds of people, all kinds of creatures.
I'm talking about if you come to my job, you just come to the house. I'm not like that. I'm always like saying something funny, looking at something, just being like loud and crazy with my sister and stuff. But no, I haven't experienced that personally, but I do know what you mean, as in, let's say I go to a party, or I go to meet somebody new, and one of my friends brings somebody new along, it's not fair. I mean, I know I sound like I'm saying a trend, it's not fair, it's not right.
Yeah, I'm kind of saying you're saying. I mean, it's life, and nothing's fair.
Yeah, it's life. But when I do see someone who's introverted in that way, I try to talk to them, because I know that it can look as if they're stuck up there. B-word, I didn't want to.
Which you will refrain from saying, so fine.
That they don't want to talk to anybody, don't want to meet anybody. So I don't think it's fair. I think people naturally go off of body language and what someone's face perceives. So if they have a face that looks like don't talk to me, and they're introverted, then it gets that label of they're probably stuck up. But someone like you who just seem like you just like naturally just be to yourself, I wouldn't say that you're rude.
I've gotten that I have like a blank face, like.
I hate that people think that's a problem.
But it's like I don't.
But I was born like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I don't know how.
What? You and these okay. First of all, let's shift this to business. We're not talking about y'all personally. We're talking about in business. So in matters of business, you being an introvert can cost you business. Because if you get into a room and you don't talk to anyone, you didn't grow your business.
Yeah, but that's what I was getting into. Like, okay, so for example, like HR, just say if you have a job and you're on an interview, and so are they gonna judge you based off of like your looks and how you speak? Like, what if my answers are very brief?
Unfortunately, they do. And
See?
And that's why I said I don't.
But it depends, because it depends on the kind of position you're going for. Okay, so let's say you apply for customer service. You get into the interview, and Scott's rolling his eyes because let's say you apply for customer service, and you get into the interview and you don't talk.
That's not your field.
Exactly. Immediately I'm going to go, it's not that you're rude, you're just not a good fit for this position, because in customer service, you're interacting with customers. You can't interact with me.
Yeah.
And honestly, when I interview, I look at stuff like that, because when I interview for certain things, even when I interviewed you guys, there were certain aspects I was looking for.
Yeah.
So it's about what the interviewer is looking for in an interviewee. If I'm looking for someone who, the job description is, you have to be outgoing, and you have to be able to communicate, and you have to be able to talk, and you get into an interview and you're mousy and shy, I'm probably not gonna put you in my top 3 because you don't fit the job description for what I need.
Right.
So it's a matter, and like I said, we're talking about business aspects. Now in your personal life, yeah, you probably come off stuck up and so on and so forth, or my favorite line, bougie, because that's what I get called all the time. I'm okay with that because, you know, I have a standard in my life, and, you know, anything that's going to bump or kick up against that standard, I'm typically not interested in. But, you know, that comes off as bougie, that's fine. Now, I've learned how to maneuver that so it doesn't come off that way because, you know, unless I'm bad at bougie, which, you know, that's
It's
whole
not really
different.
that bad. It's not.
But it depends. Again, you're talking about perception. And in matters of business, you want to make sure that the perception that is perceived is a good validation of who you want to be. And I get on y'all about that all the time, especially when we talk about social media. But I'm not going to get into that. I'm going to wait till we get ready from the break because that's a whole other segment. So everybody stick around with Leadership Blend with your host, Ricardo D. Rice.
So like, so I wanted to like add something, but we went to break. So I wanted to talk about how like depending on what field you're in, like how you mentioned customer service. Of course they're not going to do your job because I'm introverted. And I'm not
Of
going
course I'm not gonna
to
apply.
yeah.
I don't wanna talk to people.
Yeah.
I don't wanna talk to customers.
But, okay, but here's the thing, though. And the ambivert thing is, I
You
guess
really
you
about
have
to
to
start
find
using
the.
it
I
now.
really
Yeah,
am.
yeah.
That was a good one. I mean, that was a good job. I mean, it's being able to tap. I think that everybody can. Yeah, being able to tap into different sides of your personality. I don't think that people are really pigeon-toed to one
Right.
thing because like I said, despite what people believe, typically by nature I'm an extrovert, but I wasn't always that way. At one time I was an introvert. I didn't want to walk in a room. I don't really want to be seen, and I still deal with that because, you know, even with being a radio personality and trying to really get out there, it's hard. I am frightened as a dickens to go to the Stellars because I'm like, okay, now I'm going to be around all this gospel elite. I've never done a red carpet, never really had an interest in doing a red carpet, but it comes with what I do now. So, you know.
You're just gonna force yourself.
Exactly. I'm just like, okay, well, you kind of do it when you're on the radio because you don't know who you're talking to, but I'm not seeing them. So it's a little easier because, you know, unless it comes back to bite me in the butt, I'm not seeing them. But with doing a red carpet, you know, you have to get out there, and I'm sure I'm going to be pressed up against 50 other media outlets who are all trying to vie to get to Kurt Franklin or vie to get to Tamla Mann. So, you know, in my head, I'm already despising, coming up with my game plan. So, okay, when you get there, first of all, you got to have a killer outfit. Cause, you know, you got to be really cute. Exactly, you got to be really cute. So I'm like, these are the kind of things I'm thinking about, you know, before I get there, because when I get there, it's kind of a, let's go, get it, let's go. Like, it's kind of that kind of thing. Yeah, it's go time. So, you know, you kind of.
That sounds really nervous though. Award ceremony, first time, red carpet. Ooh.
Yeah. I'd be so
But it's all
nervous.
about mindset. All right, so we're back with myself, Charnaye, and Chamyre, and we're talking about introverts and extroverts in matters of business and how it affects your business, because it's the thing that nobody really talks about, but it makes a difference. You know, if you're an introvert and you have your own business, again, the outlets by which you should seek out to expand that business is probably going to be different and should be different than if you're an extrovert, the avenues and channels you choose to go down, because you know, you're talking about a difference in personalities, but before we went on break, I was fussing about something, I don't remember what it was. So, Chamyre, on the break, you were talking about some things, so.
Yeah, so I wanted to bring up two things. The first one I wanted to bring up was what kind of jobs do introverts usually have, but before that, I wanted to talk about so introverts that are going into whatever field they want to go into. Like, you know how you mentioned customer service, like, I mean, that was pretty, self-explanatory. I don't think any introvert would, apply to a customer.
You'd be amazed when people apply to when they need a job.
Yeah, that's true. But, just say, if an introvert wanted to apply to a job they really love, and the manager saw that, she or he was an introvert, do you think some managers, give them a chance, oh, I believe in you, I think, you'll eventually, open up? Or do you think they just shut them off, right then and there?
I think, as far as that goes, I think it's all about what comes out of your mouth, regardless of your attitude.
Mm-hmm.
So if you may be introverted, but you know what you're talking about, and you're going to get the job done, and your track record shows so, I think you'll be fine. I think you'll still be in the top 3. But you got to think, if it's competition, the competition is thick, if you got three other people for the top three, and they can do both. They extroverted and they know what they're talking about, then you automatically out the running. So I don't think it's the end all be all, but I do think it's a big part in getting that job or getting whatever it is you want. And I had something to say on that other question, but I'll wait till we get to it.
And also, do you think it's a little bit more lenient in the like entertainment industry? Like, okay, so for example, like you have people audition, like you have singers, you have dancers, you have actors and stuff, and they audition for roles, but a lot of them like can be shy. So do you think directors and like the casting people, do you think they get like a little bit irritated at times, or do you think they have patience for people like that? Like that's what I mean by believing in them.
First of all, these are all loaded questions. Let me just say that. This is where you segue into leaders versus managers, because a manager will sit down with the interviewee and go solely off what's sitting in front of them. A leader will go off what they see on the inside of them and what can be they see the potential, versus a manager just seeing what's there, what's present. So, that's really why it boils down to you knowing really who you are, which is hard when you're young. So you use and these are lessons I learned as I got older, so now I can say these things. You learn as you go. So, you may start, because most people do not believe that I started out as an introvert. My parents will confirm I was an absolute introvert. I didn't want to go in the rooms. My dad used to fuss at me about getting dressed. I would leave the house with wrinkled clothes on. I didn't care. It didn't matter where I was going.
Because you don't want to talk to you anyway.
Exactly. So I'm like, it defeats the purpose. And honestly, I still use those things now. Like I find myself at work especially on Saturdays when we're really busy, and I'm on a mission, and I'm headed to the office to do something, and I have this demeanor, and they pick at me they fight me about this all the time. There is a certain demeanor I do possess. I'm conscious of it now. I wasn't before. Mm-hmm. It's a don't bother me, leave me alone. It's a look I have apparently. And, when I'm on a mission, I have that look on my face. So it's like, and I found myself doing it yesterday. I was headed to the office to do something, and I got stopped by a customer for something that would probably be stupid, like, where's the bathroom? And I knew the look on my face because of the instant reaction from the person when they stopped me. They were just like, oh, I'm sorry, are you okay? I'm like, I'm good, what do you need? And they were just like, scared to ask me the question. I had to shift because I was like, okay, the look on your face is bad because they're scared to ask you something. So I was like, oh, I'm sorry, what do you need? And then it was like, oh, well, can you tell me where the bathroom is? I'm like, oh, sure, the bathroom is around the corner on the stairs. Mm-hmm. But it's a demeanor that I keep.
So that's how you know.
Exactly. I know, that, so on and so forth. Now, again, in today's industry and in today's business organizations, people are, and I hate to say this, but it's becoming a real reality. People are investing more in managers than leaders. So you may have a manager who does not have any insight into understanding the dynamics of who an individual may be in their present state versus the potential they have in their future state. Right. A leader can see that. A manager probably won't because they're designed.
Right then, right then.
Exactly, but that's what they're designed to do. A manager is designed to get a specific job done and to get it done by any means necessary. So they're going in saying, hey, I need 16 people and I got to have these 16 people by this deadline. A leader can say, okay, well, I may need 16 people, but the route and the type of people I bring in to get the job done, the timetable that's in my head can still get that achieved within those numbers, in that time span. Mm-hmm. So it's like with me, I'm a natural born leader. So when I was choosing the interns for the blendship program, I wanted diversity. Mm-hmm. And that's not just in ethnicities. I wanted diversity in the backgrounds and exactly, all that stuff. I factored all that in. So when you stood up, there were some things I really wanted to get done that would have required certain types of people. So with the PR, the marketing and stuff like that, I really would need extroverts. But when I got you guys in the room, I saw potential to do other things. So especially when you stood up and said, hey, because I always remember yours, you was like, I want to be more assertive and I need more confidence. Mm-hmm. For me, I saw potential. So I was like, this is an opportunity to not only help somebody get where they want to go, but to actually, when it came down to the outlook of the program, I can say when Chamyre got into the program, she was this cute little mousy girl who really didn't talk. But by the end of it, and I'm kind of giving insight to what y'all final project is going to be, by the end of it, when you create your digital portfolio, you see the beginning and you see the ending. So it for me, it shows that the program works because you went from being this cute little mousy girl who now can carry a segment on her own.
Right.
So I saw that because I'm a leader. A manager would have said, okay, I can't use her because I need somebody who can get in there and do the public relations and stuff like that.
Right
But
now.
then at the same time, when people go on interviews, they fake it too. So like, do managers like know that they're faking, or do they just?
No, and again, that's where you get into managers versus leaders because a manager probably can be fooled because again, they have a one-track tunnel vision goal. So they're looking for certain responses. So case in point, all right, so if I'm hiring, we'll stick with customer service. I'm hiring for customer service. And let's say that the business that we have is a very high-profile business with high traffic. So I need somebody who can talk to every individual and turn that conversation into a win. So when I go into my interviews, I'm looking for somebody. I'm going to ask one question, which is probably going to be, how well do you handle quick interactions? And if somebody says, oh, I'm good at it, I'm easy, and they segue into, yeah, well, I talk, and I know what the goal is and stuff like that, I'm immediately going to be, as a manager, I'm going to say, great. As a leader, I'm going to go, yeah, you're just going to tell me what I want to hear.
Yeah,
But then I'm probably not that inclined to ask those kind of questions anyway because I'm a leader. So I'm looking for, not necessarily the short term, but the long term as well.
So what is the introverted response to that question?
For the quick turnover.
Yeah.
They
I want
probably
to see if I say it. I want to see if I would say something like that.
First of all, I'm expecting them to give me a long pause because that's probably not a question they were expecting. So they're probably give me a long pause. When they do come back with a response, it's probably going to be something like, well, and they're going to start making words to try to think. So there's going to be this pause, and then there's going to be, well, or either they're going to repeat the question. Here's how you can always tell you caught somebody off guard. They repeat the question. So if I pose that question, an introvert is probably going to pause, and then they will say, well, in a high-pressure situation, I would probably, see what the customer's need is, or, I would probably try to find a way to get them in and out. It's going to be something along those lines. Like I said, an extrovert is going to be like, yeah, I do this all the time. I talk to them. I already know what our product is. I'm going to offer them that product. When that product doesn't work, I'm going to shift into something else. They're going to be able to have that kind of quick response. The introvert is going to be a little slower to respond because, they have to think a little bit more. Remember, being an extrovert, you have to be prepared for anything. So you typically keep, like I told y'all, I showed y'all my bag. When I come in the studio, I have a bag with me. What's in that bag, I don't really know. It's a plethora of stuff, it's a plethora of topics, it's a plethora of just material. So whatever I feel led to pull, that's what I'm going to pull. Today I actually switched out. I have two binders. I have a blue binder and a white binder. I'm not going to tell you I'll tell you my mom, I'm going to tell you what's in them. But I shifted today and took the blue binder out and put it in the white binder. Because I was like, okay, I always go for the blue binder, I'm going to go for the white binder today. So it's really about being prepared. So yeah. All right, now go back to the line of question where you were initially.
I was going to ask, what type of jobs do you think introverts usually have, and what type of jobs do you think they should have?
You answer that first.
Well, me personally, I would say that introverts would like to have a work from home job. Because we don't have
Oh, yeah, first of all, extroverts do too. We don't always want to be, in front of people. Yeah, we don't always want to be on.
Yeah.
Why do you think I make y'all do the show a lot lately? Because I've been doing it for a year.
You're like, ooh, I got some breaks I can take.
Which worked out perfectly because, that's a part of y'all, part of the program is y'all learning how to be on-air personalities, but it comes in handy because I don't want to sit in the studio and talk to myself or be looking at Sky for an hour, talking about some topic because I get caught in mouth and I'm just like, oh my God, this is like so much. Mm-hmm. So it's nice to have interaction, but it comes in handy. I mean, and it's nice to have introverts around because, like Charnaye said, we don't always want to be on. Now, we have to be. We don't always want to be on. So, if you can, and that's why, and let's segue to partnerships. Sometimes it's nice, and it works better when you have an extrovert and an introvert partner. So, yeah, because with, like, case in point with y'all, like, you don't talk as much, but you're nice to bounce ideas off because you think. Mm-hmm. And I'm learning that you're getting better at it. I see you starting to think more when we're in a moment. Mm-hmm. So it's nice to have somebody to bounce ideas off. Having two extroverts is god awful because you're never going to get a word in edgewise, and having two introverts is god awful because nobody wants to leave. So you're sitting there looking like, are you going to take over?
Outro.
Exactly, and if you look at the past shows with when all four of you are together, and I told Erica this because me and her were shocked that day because the people who are typically introverts to me became extroverts, and the people who are extroverts became introverts. So there's always a different dynamic when it's time to be on. So I would say as we go to our last break, for my introvert business owners, you don't always have to be on. So that's the advantage you have. But stick around because I'll go more into that. We come back from break on the Leadership Minute with your host, Ricardo D. Rice.
Gotcha. So I have one last question. I don't.
You have the most questions from somebody who's an introvert.
I was gonna answer that question, but the only thing I was gonna say is like I think people who do introvert jobs they choose just to be behind the scenes, especially entertainment.
But
if you,
I don't know.
there's still creativity in both. You just.
But I don't know. Like I like doing both though. Like I'd rather be in front of the camera. That's another thing about me. Like even though I'm an introvert, like when I'm on stage, I like brighten up a little bit. Like I don't get scared.
But you act, right?
Yeah. But at the same time, I do get scared with that too. But it just takes. I don't know. I feel like it just takes time. That's all.
Well, I mean, you gotta remember, y'all are young.
Yeah,
So y'all can get it. Y'all are young, like y'all, and that's why I always tell people who are around me, unless we're the same age or in the same arena of age, don't compare yourself to me. This is 30 years of trial and error. Like, so at this point, if I don't know who I am by 38, baby, you can hang it up. Like, it's because life is a series of trial and error. So if you're not learning anything,
what age should you know? Like,
I mean, there's no direct age. It's just when life meets experience and experience meets opportunity, and they all dance together, you become who you become. And that's just kind of what it is. Life is a series of trials and tribulations which are designed to show you all the aspects that make you you. And with me, there's been so many things in arenas. I'm 38 and I'm on radio.
yeah.
If you check anything I've ever written in what I want to do, this is not it. But life met experience and experience met opportunity, so here I am. And it's one of the biggest platforms outside of TV that you could ever have because you're reaching and talking to people you may never know.
Right.
So like before this is over, can I like kind of slide in how do you break out of like your shell? Like I want to ask you that because like since you're an extrovert, well ambivert, maybe you can give us advice. Okay, so you guys, before we were just talking about like what type of jobs introverts would prefer to have. And I said work from home, but at the same time, it just depends on like what they feel comfortable doing. But I want to also ask another question. I want to ask Ricardo, how do you give me advice on how to break out of your shell being an introvert since you are an extrovert/introvert? What advice would you give to
And the word of the day is ambivert. That's the word of the day. That means you're an introvert. You fall in between. You could be an introvert and an extrovert. Okay, so let me say this. You never, and again, we're keeping this in business because we're talking about business. You never want to pigeonhole yourself into a box. If nobody learns anything else from today's broadcast, don't pigeonhole yourself, which means putting yourself in one area and let that be it. And I will use rappers as examples. You know, when people tell me they want to be a rapper, I go, okay, so what's the goal? Well, I want to rap. That can't be the goal. I mean, that can't be the goal because if you look at it, there are very few rappers who make money and became household names from just rapping. Now, it may have started that way, but eventually they lead into other things. Most rappers are either clothing designers or investing, or I forgot who it was. One of those very well-known rappers owns like a chain of Popeyes. You would never know that because their primary gift is rapping, but most of them have diversified their portfolio, so they do other stuff. And it's the same thing in matters of business. You may start off offering one particular product or service, but if you stay in business long enough, it's going to evolve into other products and services, which should be the goal. Now, with breaking out of a shell, and I use that term very loosely, because there is a place for extroverts and introverts in the world. So don't think that just because you're an introvert, you're pigeonholed to working from home or working behind a desk. I know plenty of introverts who have radio shows. I know plenty of extroverts who do extrovert things. Because the reality is, ambivert was created because there is a middle ground.
Mm-hmm.
You have to find the middle ground. And like I was telling you on the break, you know, evolving into who you are is typically, shoot, I said it, I can't remember. That's why I hate saying stuff. Y'all gotta write this stuff down. There be good stuff, I don't remember.
I wrote some of the stuff you said down there.
What is it? Okay, I'm just gonna reword it. So when trials and tribulations meet experience, and experience meets opportunity, then a you is born. Now, you guys are young, so I don't want y'all to compare yourself to me, because I'm 38. I know, the people are looking at me, I don't look it.
Really?
Thank
No.
you, I'm
Very
handsome.
surprised.
I really would say something else, but I'm not gonna say that on the air. But, you know,
Oh, God.
just know you gotta beat down the bullet coming after the show is over with, Charnaye. But, yeah, so I mean, you keep in mind that you guys are young. So it's gonna take those trials, it's gonna take those tribulations to lead you to these level of experiences that will teach you the lessons that are necessary to prepare you for opportunity. Because eventually, after the trials and tribulations are over, there will be an opportunity to ensure that you learn the lesson you needed to learn from those trials and tribulations. We don't just go through stuff just to go through them. And even in matters of business, I have done business with all types of people. And I will say that I've learned the lesson that there are certain types of people in business I just don't do business with, because I've learned, you know, certain things. Case in point, I'm up against something now. I'm seeing the same attributes of poor business practices that I have encountered in the past. So now I have to make a conscious decision.
Mm-hmm.
Do I want to go into this partnership or this business venture knowing that they're already displaying attributes that I'm accustomed to that don't end well for me? Or do I want to cut my losses and say, you know what, thanks but no thanks, because I know where we're headed and that's not the direction I want to go into. And as an introvert, you still have to take on, you know, this type of persona to be able to stand up and say,
Right.
hey, you know, we made this business relationship, and I know you're an extrovert, but I'm an introvert, and the avenue by which we're going down is just not conducive for where I want to take my business. And that's a very key point for introverts, because I think sometimes introverts think, okay, well, you know, I'm not going to address that, which will segue us to conflict.
Mm-hmm.
Because in matters of conflict, which goes along with management and leadership, you're going to encounter conflict. And it's a little harder for an introvert to, and actually it's not that easy for extroverts too. Exactly, because in owning a business, there are going to be times that you're going to have to step into an extrovert's personality and say, you know what, no. I'm not going to let this happen on my watch. This is still my business. And if I don't speak up for it, who's going to? Now, again, for introverts, you can always hire an extrovert to handle those aspects of your business, which brings me back to me. You know, with what I was saying, my struggle has been about talking about myself. I have to make one or two decisions. Either I'm going to step into it and learn how to do it, or I'm going to have to fork up the money to hire somebody who can get the job done, which is what you find a lot of times with introverts. So you may not necessarily have to break out your box. You just surround yourself with people who can get the job done, or surround yourself with people who have the attributes that you don't necessarily feel like you have. Now you have to pay them, or do some kind of bartering system, but there's always a choice.
I think it's important what you just talked about as far as the experiences, meaning become trials meets experience meets opportunity, because I think it's important for introverts and extroverts alike to understand that, especially me who's just graduated, trying to get into my field, it's important to understand that everything isn't a loss, it's a lesson.
Mm-hmm.
So, case in point, when you might work with people, I might go to a job and I realize it's not for me, or I learned something from it at the end of the day. And so, I think that's important to think about when you are an introvert, because you want to make sure that you're not being ran over, so to speak. But when you're an extrovert, you want to make sure you're not coming off too much, because you don't want to burn any bridges. You still might need those people down the road.
Mm-hmm.
So I love that point that you just made.
Which I think, and actually, I like the fact that you said it, because and that was my biggest. If I sat down and really did my resume, I've had about 30-something jobs in my 38 years living. Wow. And if you factor the kid years, we're talking about 15 good years. And in 15 good years, I've had about 30-something jobs. Because being an extrovert, it's like if anybody watches X-Men and you know the Phoenix, she just burned everything within her grasp. And being an extrovert, especially when you're learning that you are an extrovert, you burn everything in your grasp because you just realize you have this plethora of abilities and talents, and you just feel like nobody's going to ever recognize what you can do. So you spend the bulk of your life trying to make people recognize what you do. Because as an extrovert, people see something, but it may not be what you want them to see. And again, it's all about controlling your narrative. What does that mean? That means that every time you step into a room, you're conveying what it is you want to convey. And you're not leaving your whole experience or someone's experience of you solely to them. Meaning when you walk into a room, people go, oh, well, he think he the bomb. That's not what I want to present when I walk into a room. So now I have to spend the time, molding and shaping my presence so that when I walk into a room, that's not what's conveyed. You want to walk in an era of confidence and knowing of self, but you want to make sure that doesn't cross into arrogance and conceitedness, because then you burn the bridge. Because people go, okay, well, he's not approachable, I don't want to talk to him. But at the same token, you want to be able to walk into a room in strength and power, and people go, I want to know who that is. I want to know who that is. Even when I was interviewing y'all, I, dressed in my cute little blue, and I made sure that I didn't come off as a taskmaster or come off as somebody who could not be spoken to or talked to. And I think I kind of conveyed that because when it was over with, most of you guys came to me after it was over with and was like, hey, Charnaye was like, I'm in and starting the next week. The others of you, because like I said, honestly, the reality is I did not expect all of y'all to want to do it. And I kind of designed the PowerPoint that way. I made sure I put enough in there to show you I mean business, but to also show you that there's enough projects. But again, it's about, and at the end of the day, whether you're an introvert or extrovert, I want everybody in radio land to hear this. Whether you're an introvert or extrovert, it's all about understanding how to control your narrative. What do you want people to take away from their experience of you? What do you want other business or potential sponsors and advertisers to take away once they're done with having a meeting with you? So it's all about controlling your narrative. And I say it all the time. Whenever I talk about controlling narratives, I always go to Beyonce. You don't know any more about Beyonce than she wants you to know. But she gives you enough nuggets that you want to know more. And at the end of the day, that's what it's all about in matters of business. I want to give you enough nuggets of Ricardo that you're going to send me an email, call me, or go to my website when you're done talking to me. Because at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. Now, how you choose to do that, that's on you. Whether you're an introvert or extrovert, it's still your decision. You have to control your narrative. So on that note, going into this week, what do you want to do? Control your narrative. What are people going to take away from their experience of you? What are they going to take away when they have a 5-minute synopsis? What are they going to take away when they're done with your radio broadcast? What are they taking away after they're done reading your blog? Amazon.com. Calculated conflict. Learn about management and leadership and how to do conflicts. All right, everybody say your goodbyes really quickly.
Bye, y'all. This is Charnaye. It was fun.
This is Chamyre. Have a nice day.
Have a great week. I will see you guys same time, same place on the Leadership Blend with
Ricardo D. Rice. But you didn't do the breath.
Because I let y'all do it. Y'all supposed to do that.
I want to make sure we did it at the same time. If I was still breathing.
Well, y'all always joking and talking trash. Who in the heck was texting me so much?
Is that what the sound was? Oh.
I forgot to turn my notifications off. All right, YouTube. Today was a really good show with the two interns, Chamyre and Charnaye. Even though I'm going to bust Chamyre upside the head, Chamyre, because I told her to go on Facebook Live. I didn't forget.
No, the Wi-Fi, I'll show you. It said it wouldn't download. Hold on 1 second.
I mean, it wouldn't download. You just get on Wi-Fi.
Look.
No, really.
That's the introvert thing. That's the introvert thing. She like do so well.
But I did record it on my video phone, like my camera roll.
Video phone.
All right, you guys. We will see you same time, same place on the Leadership Blend with your host,
I want to
Ricardo
get
D.
some
Rice.
coins. I want some coins. I want to be. That's